I wanted to revisit Halo, The Fall of Reach. This book is amazing. I've come back to the now, because Halo's campaign Evolved has been announced, and rereading this book, I've come to appreciate the series again, back to my childhood. I remember reading this when I was a kid, and now coming back to it, I've actually found a lot more into it, which is why I wanted to make a video. This book is actually a lot darker, deeper, and more human than I originally remembered. Revisiting, this book as an adult, I've come to, appreciate Master Chief's more human elements of his character. Not as a kid, I thought he was like this machine, this robot. I actually genuinely thought he was a robot. I thought pure hero, untouchable. Until I read the book. Obviously, I played the games before I read the book. You actually see more of the human element to Master Chief. He's unsure of himself. He doubts, whether he's actually capable. And you also see how he gets sort of transformed into this killing machine as well, from the child that you see him in the book. His transformation is I obey my superiors, I protect or help my squad mates, and I neutralize threats. That's the three forms of action that I only know. It's tragic, but it's also what makes it compelling. Is he's not a superhero. He's a human being that's sort of been molded into this, and there's an ethical dilemma, ethical story that goes along. One of the biggest themes in this book is the ethics of the Spartan-II program, which is what is the creation of the Spartans. Someone raised in Western civilization, we have our concept of autonomy, dignity, individual worth, but we have to compare that with, humanity and the situation that it found itself in at that point. Dr. Halsey, the doctor responsible for this program, I think her actions were morally, objectively wrong, training children to be weapons, stealing them, kidnapping them from their parents, turning them into clones. But in the context of humanity's extinction, they become ancient Spartans, desperate society forging warriors out of necessity. There's a moment where John asks, "How do I win?" And she whispers to him, "I'll tell you how to win, John. You have to survive, not triumph, not save the world, just survive." And that ethical dilemma comes back to humanity, and it's to win, we survive. We have to fight the Covenant, this alien race that is so hell-bent on totally annihilating and glassing every planet that humanity lives on. This book really goes into the fragility of humanity as a species, and how an alien race just annihilates us. But also one of the characters, Sam's death had shown the Spartans that the Covenant was not invincible, but at a high cost. They would have to understand the difference between a life wasted and a life spent. And that's one of my favorite quotes in the book. As an adult reading that, it hits so much harder, a wasted life and a spent life. I think that's maybe the core message of the book, or what I got out of it.